Welcome back to my healing analysis series. This time we'll be going over O11S. Now this may look a little different than the usual setup, and that's because I actually have a guest with me today. Say hi, Ren.
Hey.
Introductions out of the way, let's get into the actual video. Now this spreadsheet may look a little different than the other ones, and that's actually because, you know, there's more going on compared to the 09 version and 010 version. There's actual strategy, I want to say, that you have to kind of go through. So we got the usual ability names and what times they come out, warrior, paladin cooldowns, DPS mitigation, raid buffs, healing stuff, and the damage, unmitigated, and healing values. So if we go through the damage unmitigated real quick, we're just going to go over the damage. You know, atomic ray does around 37k to physical DPS. You always want to kind of gauge the damage from an ability over the weakest target. So in this case, magical damage hurts physical more, and physical damage hurts magic more. So atomic ray does 37k, the fist do 48k, flamethrower does 30k, long needle 35, wave cannon 40, condensed wave cannon 30, ballistic impact 15, electric slide 35k, burn 7k a tick, and it ticks 3 times, I believe. Mustard bomb around 100k, auto attack 17k. And then on the right are just the healing values that help you kind of see if it's enough healing. I guess probably just get into the video or the.
It looks good.
Yeah. So we're actually gonna be going over LBCs. This video, our spreadsheet's made for LBCs, so we do like add, load, deploy at the start and at the end to generate the LB3. I know Rin does a fancy opener here, so I'm gonna let him talk for a bit.
Yeah, my opener varies quite a bit because of it. I start with a 15-second pre-pull star, and the star is specifically placed to miss the entire group except for the main tank because we need to sit at low HP for the LBGs. I do a pre-pull Nocturnal Aspected Helios, and those are for the shields for the LBGs as well. And then around 8 seconds, I swap back to Diurnal and give the main tank an Aspected Benefic. And that's pretty crucial for this because the fairy won't be healing anyone at the start, so the main tank definitely needs that regen.
Yeah, to clarify a bit, the fairy in the opener, what you do is, as a scholar, is you're going to do Fey Wind, and then you're going to push it into the very corner of the map. So what that does is it just forces her to either heal herself or no one at all. And basically for the first whole phase, because right as you bring her back into the group, you're going to dissipate. So the main tank has no auto healing regen on him. After that, you know, you do the warrior pulls. He does reprisal and thrill on the atomic ray. Our paladin does passage here. The passage is pretty crucial because what this does is combined with the aspected Helios from Nocturnal Sect, it's going to keep us at a threshold where we'll live through the AoE, but barely. But so we get like a LB 1.5 or LB. Then we're going to drop to around, I want to say 5k.
Yeah, 5k sounds right.
Yeah, and here you have the warrior, you know, popping his cooldowns. We have Vengeance and Raw Intuition. This is just to help with the damage because, like I said before, there is no fairy regen here. The only thing that's hitting him is AoE heals in the form of Star and the Aspected Helios pre-pull. Paladin does Veil plus Conva, and the Bard puts Min onto the Paladin. What we're doing here is we're setting up for an add, load, deploy. We're going to use Largesse, and then we're going to do an add, load, deploy off the Paladin here. What this is going to do is, because we're about to stack the flamethrowers to get a full LB3, so we need the strongest shield possible. So what we do is we do the deploy, and then we do shake, reprisal, and we do addle if it doesn't crit. Generally, I don't really think you need the addle, but sometimes if it doesn't crit, it can be pretty spooky.
Yeah, the damage variance can probably kill someone.
Yeah, so if you're optimizing for the fullest, I wouldn't recommend this addle, but if you're going for consistency, then probably use the addle. It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Generally, I'm done in this first phase. It's basically it's Rin's doing. So
yeah, I like to hold my essentials for after tank boosters if I can, and in this case I can because of that aspected benefic at the start. So right after the mustard bomb, I can just essential them back up to probably a little bit over half HP, and then there's not really much damage coming out at all for this to phase. It's only main tank damage. So during the wave cannons, you can do a collective and just weave that in between your malefics, and that it does heal the party. It's not needed for the party, but more importantly, it puts a regen onto the main tanks, which helps with some of the upcoming autos.
Mm-hmm. I guess this upcoming star does too.
Yeah, and the star, it just comes up naturally, and you typically, if you can, you want to try to get them underneath, trick attack and contagion windows, and it just so happens that the mustard bomb hits right as those both go up, so you can pop it to heal the mustard bomb damage and get the buffs.
Looking at this, some people may be kind of confused on why we aren't using our invulns here. And the reason for that is basically because the tanks are already near full HP and we need hollowed for the middle of the fight, we can't use it here. But for home gang, especially, just because the tanks are full HP, there's no real reason for them to drop to 1 HP, especially when, they don't need their cooldowns for auto attacks or anything. So it just makes it harder to heal them back up when they use home gang, especially like in this scenario.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to heal up home gang.
I think this is the only fight where, using home gang is actually kind of annoying. Because...
Yeah, definitely.
As you can see here, as a scholar, we dissipate here, which means, again, no fairy on the field. We just do it for the burst window. If you have a slower kill time, you could change this dissipate to like mid-level checker so you get 3 Fey wins. However, because we kill it so fast already, killing it faster generally leads to more DPS loss. So we use it here. Also, it lines up your Aether Flow better, in my opinion. For the Mustard Bomb, we have the Paladin cover and Sentinel the Warrior. Pops awareness for the auto attacks afterwards just for safety. And the Dragoon feints for the Paladin and Warrior. This just makes it so that they won't die, because they can get pretty low here, especially if, there's no fairy. And just looking at this, there's nothing to go over here. After this, it's just the level checker plus delta attack.
Yeah. The next bit of healing comes up after level checker is over, which I do a very early collective, which is so I can use collective again at a certain point, which I wouldn't have to use collective, but it's, why not? It's during downtime and I don't lose a use of it, so I use it there. And the only the main important heal I do is an aspected Helios right before the boss comes back, and that gives everyone a regen that'll be ticking after the flamethrower.
Yeah, you always want to, as a healer, you always want to do heals during downtime. There's no real reason not to, and it's just you're generally not going to lose aggro, like doing a Metagutsu or aspected Helios, so it's better to play on the safe side and more efficient side than just not doing anything at all. Even if it doesn't save anything, it just makes it more comfortable.
Yeah, just don't spam Cure 3 or anything.
So here for Delta Attack, we do Tank LB plus Convalescence. Convalescence is on the Warrior here, so we're also going to put Min here. We do an Admiral Deploy here. However, if you're seriously going for the LB cheese or efficiency, you don't have to Admiral Deploy. I usually do it because I steal healing from Ren. If anything, I'll just do a Sucker and then a Admiral Deploy afterwards for the Flamethrower, but you don't do that. So after the Admiral Deploy, I do a Sucker. The Sucker overwrites whatever shields are left over for the upcoming Flamethrower. I don't have that written down, but that's what I do. After the boss becomes targetable, Warrior pops Raw Intuition plus Awareness for the auto attacks. And we do a full opener here. For the Flamethrower, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, right as the boss becomes targetable, I place the star down because it will time it perfectly for the flamethrower damage afterwards, because we all don't have to be topped off, but more importantly, the blaster tethered person has to be topped.
In our case, it's the Bard.
Yeah, and the aspected Helios, like I was saying before, also helps top them off just barely. It gets maybe 2 ticks in after the flamethrower, or 2 or 3.
So here we have the Paladin Reprisal the Flamethrower. This just helps mitigate it. Again, it's just there to help. Rin said he places a star, ballistic impact happens, and then we go into the wave cannon. And this is where basically Rin takes over, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you do FA Union, but I guess most of the healing is from me.
Yeah. We try to say.
I don't know. Like I said from earlier, I prefer to save Essential for after the tank busters because it is a bigger potency heal whenever they're lower HP. So right after the mustard bomb happens, I just Essential the main tank, and that with the Fey Union covers him all the way until the first set of fists spawn. Oh wait, no, we missed something I want to touch on though.
Okay.
Sometimes the Bard is, well, in our case, the Bard, whoever's taking the blaster tether has to be full HP, like I was mentioning, and sometimes he's just barely missing HP. And in this case, using your kit to your fullest, erase from the summoner or your caster is very beneficial in this situation because he has to be full HP, and you'd have to use some cooldown or heal to get him up there. So using your lowest potency heal makes sense because it's enough. So it's not wasted.
Well, some people may be asking, why don't you just have the Bard second wind? And that's because we actually need the Bard to second wind after the physical or the blaster debuff wears off to top him for the first set of fists. If the blaster tether actually probably didn't get picked first, you could use second wind, but just because our target gets picked first, it makes it kind of annoying, so we do have to use second wind there.
Yeah, that's probably not the same for all groups, but
yeah,
just for us.
Kind of got unlucky in that.
Yeah, but we deal with it just fine, so.
So just before we get into the fists, let's go over the wave cannon segment real quick. So after the wave cannon, we have mustard bomb plus blaster tether. Again, we dislike using home gang as a mitigation tool in this fight because it makes it really hard to bring them back up to full HP, and sometimes they can die. So what we do here is we have the warrior pop Rampart plus Vengeance, and then he pops Anticipation for the autos afterwards. At this point, our paladin is popping Veil. We're using Veil, and we're going to pop that for the fists coming up. And right as the second wave cannon ends, we're going to do a Fey Union onto the warrior. This is going to keep him at full HP for the tank buster and help heal him back up afterwards. And then Rin also does an Essential Dignity to give him back to full HP. And Atomic Ray comes up. We do a reprisal on it, and then we have the paladin to cover the Bard as we were talking about earlier. After the Atomic Ray, I'm going to do a Fey Wind cancel. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Fey Wind to cancel my Fey Union. Also, I'm going to target the paladin to pop Veil. And this Veil is going to serve as a shield buffer of sorts for the first set of fists, which is usually Rin's domain, so I'll let him talk about it.
Yeah, so for the first set of fists, as we mentioned before, the Bard is really low HP because he took the blaster tether. So he saves second wind for that, which after using second wind generally puts him around the 20k HP range, which is pretty much the rest with the rest of the group. I use a collective a little bit before the fist spawn, and it just so happens that around this time is the same time that your celestial opposition comes up and your lucid, so you can combine all those and get a 25-second collective regen tick, which is very good in this situation because it saves you probably an end-dom, I would say.
Yes.
We use a lot of stuff for this. We use Physical Troubadour, which actually covers 2 hits. It covers the first set of fists and the stack mechanic after, the electric slide. I believe you pop Veil, our warrior. Yeah. And then our warrior shakes. And with all of this going on, the extremely long Wheel of Fortune regen ticks, we don't have to use a single heal right here because the regions just do everything naturally. And after the fists do we have up there 48k damage.
Yep, 48k.
So the shields are required right here because if we didn't shield at all after the fists, what do we have? Let me see. It's about, okay, well it says 1 second, but the electric slide doesn't hit until about 4:53. So you need the shields because there's not enough time. The Wheel of Fortune's still ticking, but it's not enough time to like tick, 20k worth of damage. So that's why the shields are mandatory right there.
Yeah. So combined with the star pop after and the collective, assuming you did everything right, there's also a feint on that electric slide. We don't have that written down. I guess we do.
Yeah.
So yeah. So going backtracking a little bit, we do shake, which is non-buff, nothing's on it. It's just a 8% shield. We have veil. We have troubadour physical for the first set of fists. This drops us down to around 35k, around there. And you see the electric slide does exactly that, but because we have reprisal, passage, and feint on that, we're gonna drop to around 5 to 10k, I think, depending on like who gets hit.
Yeah, it's pretty low, but
the star plus collective will top us back up for the second set.
Yeah.
And right here, I'm actually gonna show a little clip in the little corner, the top corner, and it's gonna show how much HP we have living after the second set of fists, because I'm pretty sure people drop to like 100 HP sometimes. It's really sketchy, but it works. No one's ever died there before. After the electric slide, I do Feint Union on the warrior again. This is just for the autos during the second set of fists, because he does auto a lot and there is a lot of damage going out there in the form of boss damage or main tank damage. After that, after the second set of fists go out, the second group is going to be very low. So what we do here is I indom, and this puts us at about 30k HP, more give or take. And sometimes what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do manual embrace healing, which can be unreliant sometimes. Come up the flamethrower. We know we have a warrior popping, raw intuition, rampart for the auto attacks and awareness. We have the paladin reprisal the flamethrower. And we actually have the Dragoon and Ninja second wind here. And what this does is this actually, down the line, the second wind on the Dragoon and Ninja will do is it'll save a heal, an aspected Helios down the line. Before we get too far, we have Ren place a star, pops after the flamethrower.
Yeah, the star I placed during the update program, and then a few seconds after, it just naturally pops on its own. Right before the update program, though, I usually essential the lowest HP person, because, as I've already said, it heals more the lower the HP, so it's just getting the most value out of it to save the fairy from healing them.
And that's actually really important in this case, because the fairy does need to heal multiple people, and if they don't get healed, then they will die to either the flamethrower or the pentacrator coming up.
Yeah, that HP carries through the whole way.
So again, going back, we have the second wind on Dragoon and Ninja. So what this does is, so going forward a bit, we're going to come back to the spot later, but just going to Pentacrator 1. Why we do the second wind here is because during Pentacrator 1, there's 15k unavoidable AoE damage from the missiles coming down, plus the Enrage ballistic systems, which is the stack mechanic. And this stack does around 35 to 40k damage. And because of that, because physical DPS takes so much damage from this because of their lower magic defense, if the bard gets hit by this and he doesn't have like an aspected Helios or whatever heal, he'll die. So what we do here is to manipulate fairy tick RNG. We have second wind on Dragoon and Ninja, so they're automatically safe from this. This just leaves the bard. So what we do is we do a manual embrace on the bard here, so he lives through this stack mechanic, which is why we end up doing that second wind. It's going back.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to carry on. If you want to go back, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, there's not much to talk about going here. We have the reprisal on the flamethrower. Dragoon and Ninja use second wind. We do a manual embrace on the bard, and you ED the main tank here for the auto attacks.
Yeah, he's just taking a lot of damage since the fairy's busy, topping off everyone else, like you said, the bard. So the main tank usually needs it.
Oh, actually, this is important right here. So as a scholar, we have the paladin pop veil, and then you have two options here. You can either pop it with embrace, or you can be lazy like me and do a sucker. Now, it's maybe controversial, like, oh, you're doing a GCD or endom. Well, the thing is, if I were to endom here, I'd have to clip my GCD anyways, so it comes out to like a neutral gain of sorts, like a neutral just value. So what I do here is I just kill two birds with one stone. I do a sucker to proc the veil and give us shields for the upcoming Wavekin and Kyrios.
And some people might ask why you shield after the stack, and it's kind of like earlier with the fists. it's important in the case if you're using regions to have shields, because their regions won't have enough time to regen you up if the damage is coming out too quickly. So the way this next part's working, the damage just happens so fast that you need the pre-shields. So after the damage, you're not as low as you would have been. Because if we would have pre-shielded the stack mechanic, for instance, a lot of the regen would become overheal.
Yeah.
So that's just something you kind of got to think about.
I guess in terms, it's really easy to overheal with regens, but it's extremely hard to overheal with shields.
Yeah.
So what we do here is when the stack comes up, we reprisal it, and then after it, everything's happening afterwards. It's very, very important that nothing pops before the stack goes off, or else someone has the potential to die. So what we do is we have Shake and Veil pop after, which is why I do a Sucker there, to pop after. So Shake, Veil pops, so we have Sucker shields after. The only thing mitigating the stack is the collective shield. After that, we have the Ninja and Dragoon Bloodbath. This is crucial to them surviving the Long Needle Kyrios. But before we get into that, let's talk about how we actually handle the first and second set of these wave cannons. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I collective and Celestial Opposition because this fight just lines up so perfectly for Astro. So you have collective for the stack damage itself, and then you have another 25-second regen tick going on the whole group. And that's my fair share of work during this part. Yeah,
it's also pretty important to note that what we do here is we have the magical users take it first. So because everyone's going to drop very low, if the physical DPS actually took this first laser, they would die. There's no questions asked. They would just die. And the reason for that is, again, going back to the fact that physical damage users take more magic damage. And sometimes in this first set, the magic users drop really low. We're talking 3k to 1k damage or HP.
Yeah, and that's just damage variance or maybe a heal that didn't crit. And you never want to calculate by critical heals.
Yeah. Plus there's AoE damage going off too. Like the missiles are still coming down from the the ceiling.
Yeah.
So what we do here is we have the first set of lasers going off are on the magic users plus tank. So it's me, Ren, and our summoner and paladin. What this does is, again, it just makes it so that the physical users don't die. Because if the physical users go in, like our bard, we used to have our bard go in, he'd have the potential to die if he didn't get an extra heal. After the first set, the physical DPS should be high enough to where the regions have been ticking the whole time. So they're probably around 40k HP, I would say, at this point. Plus the shields, they're gonna get knocked down to around 20k. Now this isn't a problem for the bard for the upcoming Long Needle because he can just go to the corner, right? He can just go to the wall. However, melee DPS, they don't get that luxury. They have to stay on the boss. They have to be consistently hitting it. So what we do here is, because they're going to drop really low, after the first set, or is it second set?
Second set.
After the second set of lasers go out, we have the Dragoon and Ninja pop Bloodbath. And what this does is, combined with Rintin's upcoming largest aspected Helios, they're going to live. But this not only does this carry over to the Long Needle, it also carries over afterwards to be topped for the Atomic Ray. Because they're going to be lowest, right? They're going to be taking the most damage. They're going to be close to the middle, so they're going to get hit harder by the proximity AoE.
Yeah, it's going to overheal pretty much everyone except for those two, but I mean, they have to be healed, so sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But the fact that the aspected Helios regen carries over after the Long Needle is very beneficial.
I think this is the only GCD heal you do in the fight, too.
I think so, yeah. It's the one magical GCD, I guess. During the Pantocrator, I place my star in the corner, and it just pops naturally by the time Long Needle happens and we're all in the corner. But that doesn't quite top us off, so that's why the regen from the aspected Helios is so important.
Yeah. And now, we could Indom here, but as like Rin said, the Indom wouldn't really do much, because what the Indom will do is we'll be topped for the Long Needle, but we won't have anything to top us for the Atomic Ray afterwards. That's where the regens from the aspected Helios come in.
Exactly.
Let's see. Did we miss anything? I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Okay. So this is what Rintin calls Momo tech.
Yeah.
So what Momo tech is what we do is we have our paladin pop his cooldown. So in this case, it's Rampart. Our paladin pops Rampart. So he's going to take less damage from this Long Needle Kyrios, which is the proximity AoE. And what this is going to do is this is going to put him at an HP value where the star popping afterwards is going to top him for the blaster tether. And what we do here is we have the paladin, since he's in Holy Spirit here, he sprints and grabs the tether. He doesn't lose anything doing this, by the way. He loses absolutely 0. So what he does is he grabs the tether, he's in his Holy Spirit window, and he's max melee on the other side of the boss while we're in the corner. So he's on the boss, he's getting his auto attacks in and Holy Spirit, the melee and are on the other side hitting it. After that, after the tether goes out, he hollowed grounds. And this may look weird, right? This may look sketchy, like, oh, why are you hollowed grounding something so weak? Well, because it's so weak that we don't want to waste any resources here. So what this means is if the bard took it, the bard would need an ED and an XCOG afterwards to top him up for the red fists. The paladin does not need that. So in this case, we save ED and we save an XCOG, which is, really good. That's what, 150 potency plus probably 300 potency in the long run, honestly.
Yeah, because main tank would require a regen at that point.
Yep. And because the paladin's defense is so high and his HP is so high, after the tether wears off, he doesn't need any extra healing coming from the red fist. So he can just take it raw, He's not going to get hit by much. Where the bard, he would need an XCOG after the debuff fell off. So that's why we use Hollowed there. It saves an ED and XCOG, which we can use elsewhere.
Yeah, I use the ED on the main tank, which, as I just said, saves the regen, so the Momo tech is very powerful.
Atomic Ray happens, we reprisal, and then our tank pumps Conva. As you guessed it, we're getting ready for another ad load deploy. And this is to LB3 cheese the Red Fist to get a full LB after it. Dragoon pops Faint here for the auto attacks because it does hurt still. Our Warrior pops Raw Intuition plus Awareness. Our Paladin tank LBs, and then he uses Passage afterwards in between his GCDs. We do an Adel deploy off of him, and we get a full LB3 after Red Fist. And here, honestly, I think is arguably the hardest part of the fight for us.
Definitely is.
Because this is, there's so much damage going out in these next 30 seconds, right? You have the Tank Buster, and then you have the Atomic Ray into Flamethrower into Ballistic Impact. This Mustard Bomb wouldn't be an issue if it weren't for, we don't have anything to heal here. So what we end up doing is I Fey Union into the, halfway into the Red Fist. So the Fey Union's on the Warrior here. And this is just to keep him alive for the, well, there's two reasons for this Fey Union. One is to keep him alive before the Mustard Bomb, because he's going to be going in with 10k HP, 20k HP. And the second reason is you want to do it early so it doesn't interrupt your burst. So sometimes when we were first doing this strat, I would have to Fey Union kind of mid burst, and it would feel very garbage, It would kind of interrupt that flow of burst. So we do it beforehand just so it doesn't happen like that. And this is why it's scary. So what we do is we have the, well, we got to go to this real quick. So our Paladin is actually going to cover the Warrior here. He's going to use Sentinel. And we're going to have APOC on Opa here. Before we used to home gang it, however, why it was so shitty was because it was so hard to heal him back up without XCOG or, an extra GCD heal. So the compromise
down to 1 HP.
Yeah. The compromise we came up with is so we have Fey Union running on the main tank here. Because he's getting covered, he's not going to take any damage. So the Paladin's going to cover him. He's going to use Sentinel and cover. And then he's going to take around, I want to say 20 to 30k, because he's also going to have Troubadour. He's also going to have APOC. And now those two are very important, right? Those two are life-saving. Because one thing is, not only is APOC going to mitigate the Mustard Bomb, it's also going to mitigate the dot afterwards, which will really help keep him alive. And now the Paladin's going to get really low here because, we don't have any resources on him. So what we do here is we have the Paladin go south, and then we have the Bard take his place. So what this does is this puts the Warrior and the Paladin far enough apart to where the tether breaks, so he's not taking any auto attacks. It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Again, we have Feign Union on the main tank here. Warriors just taking auto attacks. I dissipate mid burst, but that's okay because coming up we have Collective and Star, and then hopefully
the only thing I do here is I play Star as soon as I can so I can get a big Star for before the Atomic Ray, because we're still probably a little bit below half HP after the Red Fist. So we need to be not topped up for it, but as high as HP as possible for it. And then as the atomic ray is hitting, I usually try to collective, and that will carry through the rest of the fight. Well, through the rest of the damage.
For us, for our team at least. Some of you guys may have to deal with the flamethrower more, but generally our cooldown sheet was good enough to actually last through the burn ticks. So what we do here is we have Troubadour, Magic Troubadour up, and then we have Shake after the Atomic Ray, and the Bahama Addle, or we have our Summoner Addle during his Bahama window for the Atomic Ray. This pushes you down to what, 30k HP I want to say from top?
Yeah.
Plus the Troubadour. Now it's very important that your Bard uses Troubadour so that it lasts to the Flamethrower. And I think it's pretty precise timing, because you also want to catch that Mustard Bomb.
Yeah, it catches a lot, so it's pretty tough, but it's really good if it does.
Yeah, it's really high value.
And I was going to say, not only does it catch the Flamethrower, but since the Flamethrower gives you a dot, it decreases the dot damage as well, so it's a little bit more important than you might realize at first.
Because sometimes we end after that Flamethrower with like 2k HP, 3k HP, like it's pretty important. So what we do here is we have the Collective plus Bahamut plus Troubadour for the, or the, not Bahamut, the Addle plus Troubadour plus Collective for the Atomic Ray. This drops us to around 30k HP. The star pops before the Atomic Ray, so that's why we're top there. If nothing was missing and you do Shake afterwards and you have Reprisal, you won't have to end and you'll live with, like what I said, 2 to 3k HP on the physical and magic users. However, if one thing is missing, you must end or do an extra heal. So it's really strict timing, but it's like really worth it.
It just goes to show how important the mitigation is.
Yeah, like, you know, people really underestimate how much, you know, DPS mitigation really affects the healing CDs, and that in this case, like, it saves an end.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look through the entire sheet, everything combined has us only doing, what, is it 4 GCDs combined? Or is it 3? Oh, 3 plus an end.
In our case, yeah, we do 4 GCDs total. We do 1 Adlo deploy at the start, and we do a Sucker, and then we do another Adlo deploy at the end, and you do an Aspected Helios. However, this, if you do not LB cheese, this is a 2 GCD map out, just excluding Adlo deploys. So yeah, it makes a big difference, you know. If the DPS and, you know, the tanks did like lackluster mitigation, you'd probably be looking at like 10 to 15 healing GCDs. I think that's it though. I mean, there's not much. Let's go back and review something and see. Is there anything you felt like we didn't really discuss too much, where we could go back and reiterate a little bit?
I think I covered everything I wanted to. I don't think there was anything.
In this fight, as a scholar mains, this fight is really when Fate Union and proper fairy management really starts to show. Sorry, I bumped my mic right there. I'll have to edit that out. But, you know, this fight is really when, you know, proper fairy management really comes to show, you know. Fate Union and Rouse management, like it's really important, because this fight is really just an auto attack damage fight. There's some periods where there's AoE damage, but it really just comes down to the auto attacks. Yeah, okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any questions, you know, Rintin will answer them in the comment section below. If you guys like this, let me know. We'll do one for O12. If you feel like this was a little harder to follow because there was no video, I'll do a single one by myself, or Rin and I will figure out a video streaming service where we can actually watch together. And you have anything to say, Rin?
No.
Nothing? No shout outs?
Not really.
No.
I have no shout out.
Follow me on twitch.tv/Rintin.
Non-existent channel.
So, Ren, when are you going to start making videos on YouTube?
Give me a few years and maybe I'll think about it.
Why not? The fans want it.
I don't know about that one.